Hello, everyone, fellow classmates. We are Team 7, and we have chosen as our topic to discuss today what effective managers have in common, those traits and characteristics that are important in an effective leader. First, as a matter of introductions, my name is Stuart Child. On our team, we have Keith Barker, Kim Bronson, Jared Franson, Adam Mates, and Rebecca Rasmussen. When we talk about what makes an effective manager, we all had something in common. We can relate to effective managers as well as ineffective managers. We've all had an experience dealing with them. So some of the characteristics that we've decided to touch base on are: first, effective managers are exemplary and inspirational. They are active listeners. They are mentors. They exhibit integrity and loyalty. They are emotionally intelligent, and they are strong communicators and skilled at conflict resolution. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "What you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you are saying." I love this statement. It touches on two basic ideas. First, what you are and what you do communicates to others. Second, what you are and what you do communicates louder than anything you can say. Actions, in other words, are louder than words. When we talk about being exemplary and inspirational, obviously you want to be a good example. Michael Sraj wrote an article, said, "Like it or not, you are always leading by example." This is a very important idea to understand for an effective leader, that whether they know it or not, whether intentional or not, they are always leading by some kind of example. He said, "Serious leaders understand that both by design and default, they're always leading by example." He later said, "Smart leaders want to build their brands." When he talks about a brand, he talks about the culture. He's talking about the expectations leaders have. When we define a culture, we model it. That is what a leader has to do. And an example, a good example, communicates to a team what is good. Likewise, a bad example communicates to a team what you don't want. Employees naturally will mimic the behaviors of their leader. They mirror those behaviors. A leader has this responsibility of showing a team what he or she feels is important, what he or she wants to define as the expectations. And the team tends to mirror those behaviors. And so it's important through actions, a leader understands that whatever they do, however they act and behave, that's setting the scene, the tone for the rest of the team. Sraj said, "Charm and charisma are wonderful, but good examples can prove as persuasive as great presence." The power of a good example can be very, very influential, and it can influence a team in enormous ways. Keith is going to talk to us about the next subject, which is active listening.
Thank you, Stu. So I'm talking about active listening, as this is very important for a manager to have, because the manager's goal is to really understand their employees. And active listening is the great point to do this, because it achieves that. In the English culture, in our conversations, we normally are to listening to respond rather than to really understand. There's always an overlap in between when one person is ending their sentence and the other begins their sentence. So an active listener will have various traits and actions that they will do while listening to the other party. For how to really understand someone else's point of view, these are a few of them. They will be summarizing what they've heard. They'll ask verifying questions, and they will exhibit open body language, avoiding judgment or preconceived notions or ideas. They will try to avoid solving the issue or giving advice until after the individual has fully expressed all of their ideas or thoughts. In my experience, I've had a very good manager. His name was Leo Pine. And in this job, we were managing concession stands for Utah State's football and basketball games. During this job, corporate would tell us that we need to try new foods or try new methods. And he would always seeking our input on how to implement these new foods or new processes. He was always looking at how to better set up. He was a very excellent example on listening carefully, not creating preconceived notions or ideas, asking various questions to understand our point of view. This was very important as his employees, we all felt that we were understood, that our ideas were communicated in the best way possible, and that he knew what we were trying to say. Some of the ideas were implemented and others were not. And this was fine with us because we knew that the best thing was happening and that we were understood. It really did create a sense of loyalty to him. And this is why active listening is such an important trait within an effective manager. Another trait or characteristic is that of mentorship, and Rebecca will be discussing this in further detail.
So as Keith mentioned, another characteristic we identified that was important for effective managers to have was mentorship. And there are two primary reasons why an emphasis on providing mentorship for employees makes managers effective. The first is that it makes managers effective to provide mentorship because they recognize mentorship was likely influential in their own careers. And consequently, they're eager to give back and invest time and effort in their subordinates' own growth and development. In fact, Forbes cited a statistic that approximately 75% of executives report mentorship being highly influential in their own careers and in reaching the executive position. And because of that, they're very likely actively seeking opportunities to give back, according to Forbes. So beyond just investing time and effort in helping employees, effective managers also realize that mentorship provides outsized benefits for themselves, their companies, and their employees. Specifically, employees are reliant on managers for advancement, so they're often anxious to implement the feedback and advice they're receiving from their managers in order to improve at their jobs. And this improves the company, it helps the manager, and it also helps, obviously, the employee. Managers are helping themselves and are benefiting themselves from this mentorship because they're able to develop stronger, more skilled, more ambitious subordinates, and that translates directly to better work product. And this makes managers more effective at reaching their own goals and targets, which in turn translates to helping the company. And it also helps the employee directly, which in turn translates to greater goodwill towards the manager from the employee, which improves overall working relationships. It develops a stronger, more positive working environment. Specifically, in my experience, I've seen how important it is for managers to be mentors. When I was interviewing with different law firms, mentorship ended up being a crucial characteristic that I looked at in selecting the firm that I ultimately went with. My firm places a high emphasis on making sure that new associates, because of the steep learning curve in the legal field, that new associates are receiving constant feedback on their work, they're receiving advice, and they're really tailoring their goals to the work that they're engaged in. And this translates to opportunities for advancement, promotions, and overall just better work product, which again is helping me as well as my managers when I do a better job for clients and then overall the firm. So that is an overview of why mentorship is so crucial and translates to an effective management characteristic. And Jared will address the next characteristic.
So the next characteristic we're going to talk about is how effective managers often practice integrity and loyalty. And the way they do this is they exhibit qualities of honesty, strong moral principles. They do this in their conduct, and they kind of put this all together in a puzzle piece to gain the trust of their employees. Because integrity isn't just about doing the right thing. You've got to be honest with yourself, your customers, your employees. You've got to have those guiding moral principles. You've got to perform. You've got to take action every day, and that's going to help you build that trust. So what happens without integrity, without loyalty? Well, this would be a poor manager, and it's going to jeopardize the company itself. If a manager has seen that sales have been sluggish or they're under a deadline and they decide to start cutting corners and perhaps practicing some unethical business practices, they're going to allow the company to suffer in the long run. Those products and services we're putting out by cutting corners, the customers are going to see that and they're not going to appreciate it. It's going to lower the reputation of the company and in the long run, ruin business stability. Also, without integrity, employee morale suffers. As Stu said, as employees, we try to emulate our leaders, whether we do this consciously or unconsciously. So if we have a leader operating without integrity, employees are going to start to take that in. And some employees might wonder, well, this other guy is, putting out twice as many products a day as I am, but he's cutting corners. Why should I work harder and do it the right way? It's going to cause a lot of dissension among the employees. And you're also going to lose that trust between managers and employees. If I'm an employee and I've got an unethical manager, I'm always going to question, is he going to treat me fairly if something comes up, or for promotions or things of that nature? So what can we do to become an effective manager who practices integrity and loyalty? There are some skills, and to be honest, they're not easy. The first thing you need to do is be honest with yourself. You need to do a lot of self-reflection and see that your beliefs align with those of the company, because if they don't, you're not going to go very far in that company. You're always going to be fighting your own personal beliefs. Once you've taken that step, have been honest with yourself, you need to put those beliefs into action. You need to be the example. It's one thing to say, do things right, do them right the first time, but you need to be the example that takes action and does things right. Lead by that example. In the process of this, you're going to open yourself up to vulnerability, which can be hard for a lot of managers. We all want to be right all the time, but by being vulnerable, admitting that you too make mistakes, you're going to build the trust with your employees. And down the road, when those employees have issues that come up, you might be able to minimize some long-term effects because an employee trusted you to come and speak to you at the beginning. And just remember that all of this starts at the top. As becoming an effective manager, you can promote the culture of integrity and loyalty right at the top. And that trickles down, like Stu says, we emulate those leaders that we look up to above us. And that kind of covers integrity and loyalty. I'm going to turn it over to Kim. She's going to talk to you on a topic we've discussed a lot, which is emotional intelligence.
Thank you. The next skill that we identified as a key component for effective managers is being emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence is defined as a person's capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's own emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. It consists of 4 core skills: self-awareness, which is the ability to perceive one's own emotions; self-management, the ability to express emotional self-control; social awareness, the ability to perceive others' emotions; and relationship management really kind of combines the above 3, and it's the ability to use your emotional awareness to successfully navigate interactions. And that can be interactions in your work life, in your personal life. It really applies to any interactions that you may have. The readings that we've done this semester have shown that 90% of a company's top performers score high in EI, while only 20% of low performers will score high in EI. Having EI skills becomes even more important for managerial and leadership staff, as it directly relates to up to 80% of the skills that we use each and every day. So I wanted to talk briefly about an example that I've had in my own career. I was fortunate enough to work with a manager who very naturally showed some pretty significant EI skills. At the time, I didn't know what they were. I just thought he was a really good manager. But as this semester has progressed, I became more aware of what exactly he was doing. This was for a long-term care facility, which is notorious for having a high turnover, high stress. We have a really hard time keeping people, difficult staffing ratios. You know, you're dealing with death on a daily basis, and it's a hard place to work. He was able to change the entire culture of our organization by promoting open and honest communication. He really encouraged difficult conversations instead of avoiding them. He was calm through every difficult conversation, and he really brought the anxiety level in the room down, and it allowed us to have very open and honest and productive conversations because of it. He encouraged staff to become aware of and express our emotions, and he included self-awareness activities in staff meetings and in our publications, both internal and external. And through his example and through his guidance, our leadership team was able to reduce turnover, increase resident and resident family satisfaction, and increase our census and profitability. And Adam will take our next one.
All right, so one final skill that we have involving effective management is good communication, and how that's good in conflict resolution, because you need one to help with the other. Some of the key points of good communication include good body language. So you definitely want to look them in the eyes on the same level, no staring or gazing. Energy is contagious, so make sure you have a smile on your face and have it radiate out to everybody. If you don't look confident, they will not trust you. So make sure you look confident and look professional, no slouching. Another good point for communication is being empathic, reflective statements. Let the person know that you care and that you heard what they said. Next, we also have constructive criticism, feedback. If it's not constructive, the employee will be scared and they will not be up to listening to it. So make sure you let the employee know that you're invested in their interests and that this is going to be a positive experience. And when you do that feedback, make sure you don't just say good job. Make sure to be specific about it so that they know exactly what to do. Do it close to when the behavior happened, because if not, they will not know why they're getting the feedback. And as always, ask open-ended questions so that we can get more information out of the speaker. Also, we need to be a good listener. Active listening is important. Like we said earlier, we listen to understand, not listen to respond. And also make sure you do not cut the speaker off. Everyone hates it that they're not getting heard because they're being talked over. And now I just wanted to kind of tie these experiences, or characteristics, I mean, into conflict resolution. If you want to go back a slide. Just make sure to realize conflict is important and that it will happen. So we just need to make sure to turn it into a positive experience and know that it does increase the collective intelligence. And the way to do that is to make sure that we stick to the facts, not intimidate people, and make sure we are not yelling or screaming at them. So I just wanted to share a quick experience. I had very bad communication skills with one of my technicians, and it led in a very hostile outcome. So sometimes in order to know what to do, you need to know what not to do. So I did everything opposite that we talked about, and it led to a bad outcome. So now I know for the future to listen good, be confident, be empathic, give constructive feedback to my subordinates, no texting to communicate. That caused a lot of hostility, and make sure not to feed into the inflammatory statements. So we just wanted to wrap up today, talk to you about some good skills that a manager should have with their employees. Employees get up to come to work every day, and they need to have good managers to keep them wanting to come to work so they will not leave the organization. So we just wanted to make sure that you had some skills to take with you as effective managers. And that includes being exemplary, inspirational, make sure you actively listen, make sure you mentor your employees, make sure that you exhibit integrity and loyalty to the employee and to the organization, be emotionally intelligent, and to practice good communication skills so that you can deal with conflict when it comes.